worst people often appear as if they're winning. But life doesn't settle its debts in public view. It collects quietly, behind the scenes. Stoics don't chase revenge, instead, they watch. Because while you're focused on healing and peace, karma is already working, and it never misses its mark. You might think they escaped. The lies, the betrayal, the manipulation, they walked away like nothing ever happened. But something did. And now, life is speaking to them in the only language karma knows, whispers no one else hears, yet ones they feel every single day. In this video, you'll uncover 5 subtle signs that someone is already receiving the consequences of how they treated you. Not in a courtroom, not in front of spectators, but within their own lives, their own minds, and in the quiet, unspoken moments no one else sees. This isn't about revenge, it's about truth. And truth, at its loudest, doesn't scream. It's silent. There's nothing heavier than pretending you're okay when you're not. But karma doesn't concern itself with appearances. It works through the emotions people feel when nobody's watching. The first sign that karma is already at work in silence is when they begin acting as though they've never been better. The one who ghosted you, who broke your trust, who tore you down, and then walked away, making it seem like you were the problem. Now they're glowing. They post new pictures daily, smiling in places you two never went, laughing beside people who weren't even there when they had you. And if you're not careful, you might just believe it. You might scroll through their highlight reel and think, maybe they really are happy without me. But here's a truth no filter can cover. Real happiness doesn't need to be proven. Fake happiness does. You've seen this pattern before. They go silent for a few days after everything falls apart, and then suddenly, boom. Photos, stories, motivational quotes, gym selfies, a full-blown fake glow-up campaign. One moment they're destroying something meaningful, and the next they're hashtagging healing with someone new, as if guilt never touched them. But take a closer look. The smile is too wide, the eyes are unfocused, the energy reeks of desperation, because happiness is quiet, but insecurity, it always shouts. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond that counts." And Marcus Aurelius taught us that the best revenge is simply not to be like the one who harmed you. That's why a Stoic doesn't argue, doesn't clap back, and certainly doesn't stalk someone's story for closure. They watch, because true peace doesn't perform, it simply exists. And the louder someone tries to prove they've moved on, the more it reveals that they haven't. Karma doesn't need a spotlight. It shows up in silence, every night, when they go to sleep and realize that who they've become is the very reason they lost someone who never wanted to see them hurt. And no number of curated posts, no staged joy, no rebound relationship can silence the truth. Their conscience keeps repeating, "I messed up something real." Let them pose for the camera. Because you already know, there is no lie more exhausting than faking peace. Karma doesn't always strike like thunder. Sometimes, it begins as a quiet erosion, the gradual removal of the very things they once held loosely. The second sign that karma is working is when life starts taking back what they didn't appreciate. Most people expect karma to arrive dramatically. A car crash, a betrayal, a broken heart. But karma is much more precise. It doesn't yell or throw fits. It starts by subtracting, quietly. At first, they won't notice. They'll lose little things. A friend stops replying. A colleague stops trusting them. An opportunity slips through, inexplicably. They'll brush it off, chalking it up to bad luck or coincidence, until the pattern repeats. Again and again. Until eventually, they're standing in the rubble of all the things they once laughed at, dismissed, or took for granted. Maybe they used to tell you that you were too emotional, too invested, too reactive, when in truth, you were the only one showing up with heart. You stayed up, texting them through their breakdowns. You forgave them when they devalued your worth. You believed in them when they didn't believe in themselves. And how did they repay that? They rolled their eyes. They joked you were needy, clingy, too soft for this world. They treated your presence as a given, not the gift that it was. So one day you stopped offering. You stopped fighting for someone who never fought for you. And you walked away, quietly. At first, they felt untouched, unbothered. But the silence eventually echoed. The messages slowed down. The circle shrank. The people they leaned on revealed themselves to be mirrors. Selfish, shallow, transactional. Suddenly all the options they thought they had vanished. The effortless support disappeared, and the deep understanding you once gave, irreplaceable. Because no one else can hold space for them the way you did, especially not someone new who only knows the surface-level version of them, still pretending to be healed. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." And karma? It strips away everything that no longer aligns with the truth. When someone mistreats a good person, they don't just betray you. They betray the version of themselves that had access to your peace, your forgiveness, your depth. Karma doesn't always punish with obvious pain. It punishes them by making them live without the love they lost, and then showing them that no one else can replace it. Every room feels colder, every new relationship feels emptier, every win feels hollow, because somewhere deep down they know they had something real, and they let it go. Let them lose, let them learn, let them scan the room and realize nothing around them feels as sacred, as safe as what they once had with you. Because karma doesn't just take what they didn't deserve, it takes who they were when they still had it, and that version of peace, they'll never meet it again. The third sign karma is quietly working is when you're still in their thoughts, even if they pretend otherwise. They'll never say your name, not directly, not out loud, but if you listen carefully, you'll hear it in the quotes they post. In the cryptic captions about betrayal, loyalty, and fake friends. In the vague conversations where they say things like, "Some people don't know what they lost," or "I don't give my energy out freely anymore." At first, you might think it's just general reflection, but you know better. You know their language. You know their guilt. You've been there, scrolling through your feed, only to stumble on a post that feels like it was written with your name in invisible ink. No tags, no mention, but every line screams your presence. It's like they want your attention, but don't want to admit it. That's not healing. That's a conscience screaming through cracks in a collapsing ego. Maybe their friends don't notice, but you do, because you once loved them deeply enough to read their silences. And now those same silences are screaming back at them. Karma doesn't always strike through circumstances. Sometimes it haunts through obsession, through memories they thought would fade, through regrets that gnaw at them. A Stoic doesn't retaliate with a subtle quote, doesn't reply, doesn't try to match pettiness, because responding validates, but silence reclaims power. Epictetus once said, "If someone speaks ill of you, live in a way that no one will believe it." So when they talk about you, around you, behind your back, don't react, don't explain. Let them carry your name in the quiet. Because the more they speak in circles, the clearer it becomes. You moved on. They didn't. Let them post. Let them twist the narrative. Let them pretend they're healing while their silence tells the real story. You don't need to be in their life to occupy their mind. That's karma. And the mind? That's the loudest prison of all, especially when the person they betrayed won't even look back. Stay silent, because once again, silence says everything. When you hurt someone good, you don't just lose them. You lose the ability to fully trust anyone who reminds you of them, including yourself. The fourth sign that karma is quietly unfolding is when they stop believing in others, and slowly they stop believing in themselves. At first, it looks like self-protection. They close their circle. They claim they're just more selective now. They say things like, "I don't trust people anymore." But beneath that tough shell isn't strength. It's fear, the kind that grows in the shadows of guilt. They used to be open, they used to laugh freely, but something inside shifted after what they did. Not visibly, but internally. Now they assume the worst. They see betrayal in every action, every silence. They analyze every word, waiting for someone to hurt them the way they once hurt you. Why? Because they know what they're capable of. And when you've inflicted pain on someone who didn't deserve it, you begin to see that potential in everyone else. This is karma's most intimate punishment, self-doubt, not forced isolation, but inner erosion. The voice that once said, "I've got this," now whispers, "Maybe I'm the problem." And that thought, it's paralyzing, because when you can't trust yourself, peace becomes impossible, even in silence. Seneca wrote, "He who does wrong rarely trusts anyone, because he knows what he is capable of." The Stoics knew that inner peace is inseparable from integrity. If you betray your own values, you don't just lose others, you lose yourself. That's karma. It doesn't always come through visible consequences. Sometimes it's the fracture inside, the restlessness that won't leave, the guilt that flares when things get too good. Even when they find something real, the voice says, "You don't deserve this." Let them wrestle with that. Let them mistrust. Let them fear their own shadow. Because karma doesn't just punish through memory, it steals peace through paranoia. And the worst prison isn't made of steel. It's made of a conscience turned against itself. Don't come back to save them. That's not your role. You offered truth. They chose destruction. Karma is simply finishing the lesson. The fifth and most undeniable sign that karma is doing its quiet work is when life sends them someone just like them. Not just a poor match, not just someone incompatible, but a mirror, another version of everything they once were to you. And this mirror doesn't enter loudly. It arrives with charm, sweetness, attraction, just like they once did when they were earning your trust. At first, it feels like fate. They believe they've found the one. The chemistry, instant. The connection, intense. But what they don't see yet is that this isn't something new. It's a loop, a karmic reflection. A lesson not about who they love now, but who they once were. And this time, they're not the one in control. Remember how they once made you feel insecure? Like nothing you gave was ever enough? Now they find themselves waiting on texts that never come, hoping for calls that go unanswered, posting for attention and receiving silence. They used to play hot and cold. Now they're dating someone who vanishes, returns with affection, and disappears again, only to call them too emotional. They mocked your vulnerability. Now they open up, only to be laughed at. They had your loyalty and walked away from it. Now they're clinging to someone who refuses to stay. At first, they excuse it. They say this person is just complicated, or they've got their own traumas. But slowly, a chilling realization starts to rise. This is what I did to someone. They may never say it aloud, but it haunts them. In the silence before sleep, in the stillness after one more attempt to connect fails. This pain, it's not just random, it's recognition, and it's karma, restoring balance in the most poetic way. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the best revenge is to be unlike the one who hurt you. But the universe doesn't seek revenge, it seeks restoration. It brings balance not by hurting someone in return, but by making them feel the pain they once caused, through someone they cannot manipulate, fix, or predict. This isn't punishment, it's perspective, because no lesson sticks deeper than the one lived. They once laughed at how much you cared. Now they cry over someone who doesn't. They used to dismiss your needs. Now they're told they're too much. They once walked away like they'd never lose. Now they're begging someone to stay. And that someone? Indifferent. And that's when the truth lands. Not all at once, but in waves. They're not just being hurt, they're being mirrored. And mirrors never lie. Let them meet their match. Let them taste the same confusion, the same uncertainty, the same ache of being used and dismissed. But this time, there's no one to blame. No narrative to spin. Because the person hurting them now isn't a monster. It's them, in another body, with the same behavior. That's not vengeance. That's return. Karma doesn't destroy. It reflects. So when they ask, why is this happening to me? The answer is simple. You're not being punished. You're being shown. You don't have to fight someone who's already battling themselves. Karma doesn't require your help. It doesn't need you to clap back, to correct the record, or to beg for justice. All it asks of you is one thing: your silence, your composure, your refusal to match their energy. Because while they're still trapped in ego, deceit, and denial, you've stepped into something greater. Clarity. Karma isn't just about what happens to them. It's also about what happens within you. When you finally let go, you stop seeking closure, because peace becomes your closure. You stop needing justice, because time becomes your proof. And you stop wishing they'd feel what they did, because life already knows how to deliver that lesson. Your role isn't to punish, your role is to rise. To become so rooted, so steady, so grounded in your own growth, that nothing can shake you. Not even the ghost of the person who once did. That is the Stoic way. We don't curse those who wrong us. We don't chase validation. We move forward, quietly, powerfully, with the discipline karma deeply respects. So if you're watching this and someone hurt you, someone who never apologized, who moved on like you didn't matter, let them. Because while they may appear free, they are quietly haunted by the one thing they can't silence: the truth. And here's something to always remember. People who lie to others might sleep soundly, but people who lie to themselves, they never rest. If this message hit home for you, don't spend your energy chasing the past. Comment below with the one line that struck you hardest. Let someone else know they're not walking alone. And if you're on this journey of inner strength and silence, subscribe to Anonymous Achiever. We don't just talk healing, we train the mind to lead, not react. We build clarity, we build discipline, we build peace that can't be shaken. Let karma do what karma does, and you become someone they'll never have access to again. That's not revenge, that's evolution. And the world, it watches in silence because growth like that makes noise without ever saying a word. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.